All right, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is Global News Highlights. Pretty much I go into these artificial intelligence apps like ChatGPT and DeepSeek and ask it, news worldwide, past 24 hours, news worldwide, in general, things like that to get the latest updates of the happenings around the world. Because we're measuring the time diligently in itself, and all the things that's happening in the world now are pointing towards the end, right? And prophecy is speaking. Now, this is a comfort to us, right? Because the scriptures say, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, right? So knowing exactly what's going on is going to keep you stable, because everything that's going on is written in scriptures, right? And that is the wisdom and the knowledge. This is John 14 and verse 23. It says, Yahweh Shai answered and said unto him, if a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. He that loveth me not keepeth not my sayings. And the word which ye hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me. These things have I spoken unto you, being yet present with you. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Ye have heard how I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. If ye love me, ye would rejoice, because I said, I go unto the Father, for my Father is greater than I. And now I have told you before it come to pass, that when it is come to pass, ye might believe. Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh and have nothing in me. But that the world may know that I love the Father, and as the Father gave me commandment, even so do I do. Arise, let us go hence. Right. So basically, what do we have? We have the Holy Spirit, which is the comfort, which allows us to understand and know exactly what's happening around us. All right. So I asked it, top news worldwide. I asked it on DeepSeek, and I asked it on ChatGPT. So we'll start with ChatGPT and what's happening right here at home in the United States of America regarding what Jacob's trouble is, of course, right? We are entering into Jacob's trouble, prophesied in the book of Daniel, right? Verse 1, 2, prophesied in the book of Jeremiah, and we most likely might get it a little bit. This is so ChatGPT gave me 1 point. I said news about the National Guard and ICE and military police. What you need to understand is Trump issued 4 these decrees, right, regarding the police, and then he sent the police out. Grab that. This is Isaiah. Uh, 10. It says, I get the NLT. Isaiah 10 and 1. What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws? They deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among my people. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. So what Trump did was militarize the police. What are these unjust laws? And then he sent the police on the streets. So it's a plan, So we have National Guard and ICE operation. Nationwide support roles for ICE. It says the Department of Defense is mobilizing up to 1,700 National Guard troops across 19 states to assist U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. With non-enforcement duties, well, they were allowed to carry guns, right? The National Guard are allowed to carry their guns. I'm pretty sure those things won't be empty. It says these roles include case management, transportation, photography, fingerprinting, and DNA swabbing, strictly administrative and logistical in nature. And the scriptures say his words were smooth and butter, but war was in his heart. Yo, don't forget the Georgia Guidestones with population down to a certain number. When I think of things like Gaza and Ukraine, these devils are loving it. It says troops will operate under Title 32, meaning they remain under state control while bypassing one of these different acts. It says Virginia alone is sending about 60 Guard members early in September for similar support function. In Nashville, Tennessee, Guard troops from the 181 Field Artillery Regiment are slated to deploy from September 1st through mid-December, focusing on, that don't sound like 30 days. Focusing on ICE facility support, but especially prohibited from direct detainee interaction. Yeah, so hey, what is this going into? Right, these are the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. Right, but let me get this second Ezra chapter 15. Or matter of fact, I'll grab Isaiah 19 because the cruel Lord is here. And these good old boys and good old Americans and whatnot, those are, the Bible Belt individuals, they're not going for none of this, Lord, cruel Lord, right? Donald J. Trump ruling the streets. They're upset about it. Isaiah 19:1. It says, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. The scriptures tell us to wait on Yahweh Shai until he rises up to the prey, right? Because ultimately Yahweh Shai is going to come and destroy these devils. But, we have to go through this stuff. It says, and I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian. So this is the American against American, right? And that's pretty much what's about to happen. Because it's not only Jacob trouble, it's everyone's trouble because the cities are going to be trouble. Everyone is in the city. Everyone goes to the mall. Everyone goes to the fast food spot, right? So everyone wants to be a martial law, It says, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fall in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols and the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, the Lord of hosts. Right, this is exactly how Donald Trump is ruling. Right, and as you can see, he's putting these people into the streets, and they're doing a big operation. This second Ezra chapter 15, verse 14, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Yeah, all hell is about to break loose, clearly. It says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Yeah, so this takeover of the streets, this is what's going to lead to. No one is rolling over, in these last days, to just let this thing happen, So the scriptures say when he is about to fill his belly, every hand of the wicked shall come upon it. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, right? Trying to overthrow the government. So that's happening right now. They are not happy with, Trump doing what he's doing. That's why you have these no kings protests and things like that. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. If man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with a sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that's exactly what we're entering into, the beginning stages of this trouble. So it says here, a federal judge is reviewing whether the Trump administration violated the act by deploying National Guard troops and Marines to Los Angeles during immigration-related protests this summer. Despite the California governor's objection, the case hinges on whether this deployment crossed constitutional lines. So he's ruling as a king, right? He's not abiding by the laws of the land. He's making up his own laws, writing new laws. It says military and law enforcement in Washington, D.C. It said federal takeover and armed deployment. President Trump declared a public safety emergency in D.C., federalizing the metropolitan, police department and deploying nearly 2,000 National Guard troops, initially unarmed, but later authorized to carry weapons under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's order. Yeah, because those individuals was getting spit on, or one ICE agent got his neck, like, messed up with a bullet. It says ICE checkpoints, so he was already shooting at them, so now he's going to shoot back. It says ICE checkpoints, curfew, and increased patrols have been implemented. Curfews, that's martial law. Let's Google search what is martial law. What does martial law entail? Let's do all right, so we have their God, the AI. It says what happens during martial law. During martial law, the military temporarily places civilian governmental military authority. That's the federal system right there. It says often during extreme crises like war or national disasters. Now, we don't need none of that. We just need a true Lord with power, It says enabling the military commander, which is Trump, to make and enforce laws, potentially suspending civil liberties and normal legal processes. That's exactly what he's doing. It says, while not a constitutional defined concept in the U.S., historical use has established that the military assumes jurisdiction over civilians, imposing its own rule and potentially using military tribunals. This authority is not absolute and is subject to constitutional limitations. Trump does not care about none of that, right? It says, with civilian courts ability to operate, typically limiting the scope and duration of martial law. Yeah, something about like 30 days, but like I said, September to December sounds longer than 30 days. So key aspects, looking for the curfew. I mean, we already know the answer to it. They ain't want to say it right here because it's exactly what we're looking for. Yeah, right. So we'll ask you a different question. So I asked it, are curfews a part of martial law? I mean, that's like the biggest, I think that's like the biggest thing right there. Posting the streets, you can't be out there certain times and all of that, It says, are curfews a part of martial law? Yes, curfews are a common measure included as part of martial law, which involves military authority temporarily placing civilian government and suspending civil liberties to maintain order. During martial law, military leaders can impose curfews, control movement, suspend rights like freedom of speech and movement, and even establish military courts to handle legal matters normally handled by civil courts. So there you go. The answer is yes, hell yes. Right. So ICE checkpoints, curfews, and increased patrols have been implemented for reports of protests and public backlash. So citizens have confronted ICE agents, and social media has seen viral warnings. Recent analysts described the law and order mission as resembling a broad immigration enforcement effort with National Guard, ICE, CBP, FBI, right? All the alphabet, individual, CIA, all of that. So it says, particularly impacting Hispanic neighborhoods. There's your Jacob shovel right there. Perfect time to grab Jeremiah 30. All right, this is Jeremiah 30, verse 5. Matter of fact, I'll grab 4. Jeremiah 30 and 4. It says, and these are the words that the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah, both tribes. Don't get it. It says, for thus said the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, we have heard a voice of trembling of fear, not of peace. Even though Trump's saying peace and safety and all this extra, he's saying it, but war is in his heart. It says, ask ye now and see whether a man do travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hand on his loins? As a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, and that he is the elect. Those of us that have returned back to the Lord, right? That's the elect. So yeah, particularly impacting Hispanic neighborhoods, critics argue these are overreaching militarized tactics far from the border. Says Trump even indicated his intent to patrol the streets of DC alongside law enforcement and military, reinforcing the public safety narrative. So at this point, he's bringing, the who protects him? The protection of the president, those people. Sorry, I don't really know too much about it. I just know they protect the president. But I mean, if he's out there, they got to be out there too, So it's a messy situation. And I just gave you a second Ezra 15 that they might, hey, Trump, be careful. The scripture said he's not gonna regard prince or king or none of that. We don't read that again. He's trying to be out there too. That's crazy. It says, second Ezra 15, verse 15, it says, for the sword and the sharpened draw nigh, and one shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. The modern day sword is the gun. Right? It says, for there shall be sedition among them, that's overthrowing your government, i.e., your presidents. It says, in invading, mayors and whatnot. It says, in invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Yeah, so Trump been out there. We'll see what happens. All right, so that's news in America regarding pretty much Jacob's trouble. Right, we're inching towards the end here. So we have DeepSeek, DeepSeek, which is an artificial intelligence, also pretty much based with China. I said top news worldwide. Gave me 6 points. So in total, we got 7 points. Gaza famine crisis deepens. A UN-backed report confirms that famine has taken hold in Gaza, with at least 500,000 people facing starvation, acute malnutrition. That the situation is particularly dire in the Gaza city and the surrounding areas, where residents are experiencing the most severe conditions measured by international experts. Despite the findings, the U.S. has remained largely silent, while Israel has defiantly continued its military operation. Yeah, so hey, they could be eating each other. Cannibalism. Elder Pastor Hart was talking about that, which is crazy, but the government is forcing them into this position, Says point 2, U.S.-Russia geopolitical tensions. Trump-Putin summit preparations. Plans for a historic meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are underway. So this has already happened. It says, though tensions remain high over Ukrainian trade, Trump has threatened 1% tariffs on Russian oil buyers. If Moscow does not agree to a Ukraine peace, which they have not agreed to. And they did agree to it, is basically give me all the land and even some of the land I ain't even take yet. That's what Putin wants. It says, naval buildup in Venezuela. Here we go. The U.S. has increased its naval presence in the South Caribbean Sea, raising concerns about a potential military confrontation with Venezuela. President Nicolas Maduro has vowed not to back down, though many Venezuelans doubt a direct confrontation will occur. I mean, those troops are riding over their own boats, so they got to get from the boat to land to do anything. But we got the wars, rumors of wars. We're still waiting on to see what's gonna happen with Taiwan, right? Pretty much the same thing could happen. This could just be like whatever happens with Venezuela could be something that happens with Taiwan, But this is Matthew 24 and 4. It says, and Yahushua answered and said unto him, take heed that no man deceive you. Right, this is regarding what the end is. When is the end? It says, for many shall come in my name, saying I am anointed, and shall deceive many, right? False prophets. It says, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, and we're entering towards the end. You know, it says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. We just went into that. Famines in Gaza, pestilence, earthquake. It says all these are the beginning of sorrows. So that's the time we're living in, the beginning of sorrows, and we're entering into Jacob's trouble. Right, and ultimately they're going to issue forth that RFID chip. You know, it's all here. They actually have a meeting taking place September, like it's 8th or 9th, regarding the nations coming together to sign some type of treaty regarding the digital world, right, and the RFID chip stuff. You know, I'm gonna look into it when that time comes around. I did a video on it. This is point 3. Global environmental disasters. Wildfires in Spain. Spain is battling its worst wildfire season in decades, with over basically 400,000 acres destroyed, 4 deaths reported, and more than 30,000 people forced to evacuate. The fires have reduced entire villages to ash. So we reduced entire villages. More than 30, 4 people live in a village, right? It says we got a mudslide in Pakistan. A mountain mudslide in northern Pakistan has created a, 7, I think it's mile-long lake threatening to burst and cause catastrophic floods downstream. Officials are urgently monitoring the situation. Right, the Lord is visiting this place, right? But it sins against these people. I believe it's Isaiah 29:6 is one of them. It says, Isaiah 29:6, thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh. Shall host with thunder and with earthquake and with great noise, with storm and tempest and flame of devouring fire, right? We also have Amos 3:6, It says, shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city and the Lord Yahweh have not done it? Right, so the Lord is in control of all of this, right? We understand that. And we understand why it's all happening. So point 4 here, trade and diplomatic developments. It says U.S.-Indian tariff roll. The U.S. has imposed 50% tariffs on Indian imports. They was just friends, and then they became not friends. That was quick as hell. It says following India's continued purchases of Russian oil. So it's kind of like what's happening with EU. See, EU is damaging itself because they're trying to abide by what Trump is saying, regarding not like trying to do business with Russia, and they're killing themselves. See, these other nations, they're smarter than EU and NATO because they say, the oil is right here, it's so close, it's real cheap, it saves me money, so I'm gonna spend this instead of trying to get oil from elsewhere, and Trump ain't making it no better for them. Like, okay, well, we can give you a discount, whatever the case may be. Nah, he just said, don't buy Russian oil. That's it. It says, despite the tensions, U.S. Congressman claims that Trump respects Indian Prime Minister, right, a lot. The Prime Minister Modi a lot. Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? He respected Putin, it seems, right? Putin and him got a great relationship. I can stop the war in 24 hours. Yada, yada, yada. Shit don't matter. France recognized Palestine. France has announced it will formally recognize Palestine as a state, a move that has drawn sharp condemnation from Israel, which called it aid to terrorism. Yeah, so nations are waking up pretty much. They're starting to switch sides slowly but surely, just like we're entering towards the end. So, slowly and surely, everything is happening. It's all taking shape and form. So we have, let's see. Okay, we got something about legal and political scandals. Ghislaine Maxwell, I think she's the person on South Park. They made a new show regarding ICE on South Park and all of that. So I haven't watched it or anything. I just seen small clips of it. So it says convicted Jeffrey Epstein associate Maxwell. Oh, I don't know if it's her. Ghislaine Maxwell has revealed in Justice Department interviews that she slept with Epstein once and spoke glowingly of President Donald Trump, claiming she was never inappropriate with anyone. Oh, he was never inappropriate. All right, so that's that. You know, we still wait on the list though, the Epstein list. Point six, other key developments. Iran's weapon factory. So Iran is back booming. Iran's defense minister has claimed that the country has built weapons factories in several countries, rising concerns about the proliferation of Iran military influence. And then we have Elon Musk's AI venture. Elon Musk has launched a new artificial intelligence project. Yeah, because he had to destroy Grok or something. It was was talking about Nazis and going against Israel and all of that. So he's trying to get. All right, so that has been the news. We're gonna grab a Genesis, Ephesians 5:15. Ephesians 5:15. It says, "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil." Obviously, right here. Lord willing, you edify from lesson and an update in the news. Shalom to those who elect, which consist of men, women, and children. Shalom.